Vindicta made Neeb really, really mad.
Maybe. I mean, he's yet to be tested in this particular matchup, so maybe there is something that's going on with the other two, because it's not like his game versus Sasuna were really that clear either. But hopefully he can really regain his footing here and get even a clean 2-0. Not that I'm cheering against Antis. Usually he's the underdog, love to tell that story, but it's kind of all eyes on Neeb here. As we do start on top of him in the top left of our mana side, it is Ting's Neeb.
And spawning over in the bottom right as our blue Zerg, it is Antis. Definitely interested in seeing Antis play and see what he can conjure up here. There was a little bit of a hatch block going on, I believe, but obviously Antis not set crazy or anything. We'll just take the normal triangular third here as a response, and it's going to be a normal opening from both of them.
I forgot that Antis had actually played Neeb last season. I know he had made it, but I wasn't sure if they're in the same group. But looking at their recent performance, only 2 months ago, Antis was able to take a map against a Neeb who was, we were not doubting whatsoever. I believe he did get first place in his group last season. And now it's, the narrative would be, again, if Neeb wasn't performing poorly, like, well, maybe Antis can do it. You grab one map, maybe you can get a second. But now it's like, well, he already grabbed a map against a more confident Neeb, put it that way. And now he's up against a Neeb who might be just a little shook after the last 2 days and still looking to get back up on that horse and really dominate the group like he's supposed to. But at this, if he was even to lose a map here, maybe not the series, but a map, I would already say like he's being top 2 might actually be in question. Top 4, yeah, I definitely think he can do it, but top 2 might be in question for once in Neeb's life.
Yeah, absolutely. And like the question that we're both kind of wondering about is, all right, is this the start of like Neeb becoming quote unquote out of shape kind of thing, or is it just a bad week, or is it angry Neeb coming? Because yeah, I hope it's angry Neeb. I know he's not quite that character that I can imagine getting super aggro or anything. In fact, it's one of the things I can imagine the least in my life, an angry Neeb. But I think he will absolutely start stepping it up a bit, and that's one nice thing about DreamHack. If you have a bad day, you don't play all your games on one single day. You can absolutely still make it back.
Yeah, that is definitely one of the positives of the format, is that there's quite literally like 6 days to hopefully recover. Maybe towards the last 2 days you're already a bit screwed, but still like 4 days of recovery. You should be able to get back into it if that's where you really deserve to be for the season. And I think we all still can agree that Neeb should be top 4, but it's going to be all about this first game, I think, whether or not Neeb looks absolutely dominant, as we kind of would expect him to, or if he looks at all shaky. At least no supply blocks this time around. He clearly has a plan, kind of hiding that Stargate's a bit clever. I don't know if he knows Antis's scouting pattern, or this is just commonly where Zergs are now sending their Overlord, but the Stargate was not seen. Nothing really was there to tell Antis that this is an Oracle. He is setting up a Spore Crawler in the main, and his queens are at the third base, though, so I mean, he should be all right. Now, the Oracle might be able to pick off some of these gas drones, at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, like, I did like that Neeb had that Stargate where it was. Oh, he's just going to go straight for the main, picks off just one drone, takes some hull damage as well. And he is adding on extra oracles. But yeah, like, Antis didn't spot anything. I think the Stargate placement was really smart from Neeb. But all things said and done, he definitely wanted more with that oracle. But Antis did defend very well.
Yeah, he even kind of microed his queen a little bit. So stutter stepping his queen, which doesn't happen too often. Get the extra shot there at the end. And it is that triple oracle opening into probably Twilight Council and Forge. Similar to what we saw, Drogo earlier today do. Antis constantly keeping track on this. I feel like, I don't know if Antis is putting, the Oracle gets taken down. The second Oracle is going to live, take some hull damage, but losing an Oracle and only grabbing 3 more drones, not worth.
Not worth at all. I think Antis actually changed the target fire there. Like Neeb, if I recall correctly, maybe he sent the higher health one in first, but Antis quickly changed it up a little bit, which was nice by him. And so far, I definitely would give the edge to Antis a little bit, considering that he missed the scout with the Overlord on the Stargate, but still hasn't walked away too wounded.
Oh, maybe a little bit of supply block right now as I speak, but it's otherwise pretty good game for Mantis. Clearly his micro is on point. He even manages to grab a couple of probes looking to transfer over to the third base. What I was gonna try and talk about before the Oracle went down was that I really wonder where Antis thinks he's coming in here, right? Because if he is also paying attention to the results like we have been, then he knows that Neeb is off. But usually if it was any other season, he'd be coming in here absolutely thinking I'm the underdog, looking to try and do something aggressive or surprising. I mean, that's usually what we think from underdogs anyways, not that I know Antis that well. But now it's a bit different. Like, I wonder if he thinks that he has the best shot ever to actually take down Neeb in some straight up games. Now the damage is starting to accumulate, to be fair, as I was speaking. 6 drones go down, decent stasis trap as well, and Antis, is getting maybe a little eager to get some revenge. Well-placed shield battery means he can't find anything.
Yeah, and I like how he kind of baited him into surrounding him, just standing a bit further away and just lulling the Zerg into that surround. But yeah, from the start, not going the best for Neeb. The next stage of this game is definitely looking a little bit fresher for Neeb. He's up to 10 drones now. He's been unhindered. I know a few probes have gone down here and there just from transferring to that third, but yeah, we're going to get a late game by the looks of it.
I think so. Antis might be just trying to get right up to that hive and get into Vipers and a Lurker Den, upgrade Lurkers, all that good stuff. As he saw the third Nexus, he saw it was a triple Oracle, but I think what he also managed to sneak in and see was the timing of maybe the Robo. I'd be able to identify that the Twilight Council upgrades are going to be coming in later, which, is going to push off any push from Neeb or any really devastating push from Neeb, I suppose. He could still go over across the map and use his force fields and kind of buy that space that we know that good Protoss are capable of doing. But as far as a big ol' attack, that's not something that Antis has to worry about quite yet. Gateways are finishing, charge is about halfway done, but Neeb is going to a fourth base, getting into disruptors. I feel like moving out on the map with those units is especially dangerous to do unless you're really confident. Another Oracle goes down. I mean, it's definitely not the cleanest game from Neeb, but it is a macro game, and we still gotta give Neeb more credit here.
Yeah, I have been watching now. Antis has definitely been retarget firing the spores and stuff and the queens and whatever. So definitely nice by him. This army, though, I wonder if Antis is super aware of what he's going to be up against, because he has been droning, and I mean, that isn't the scariest army that he's got available. Now started producing some Hydras and what have you.
I do think this is almost like a little bit of a test. Neeb does not have a War Prism coming in here. Actually, where is the War Prism? It is coming over. He might actually push the issue. But it's kind of that test where, like, if you're not prepared to overwhelm me, then this does turn into a legitimate push. Initially, I could be overwhelmed if I don't really realize how much you've got. But if I'm allowed to take control over the side of the map and warp in a few more times, then heck yeah, there could be a serious engagement about to unfold. Neeb is going to use the Warp Prism to actually go into the main base while he attacks the front, grabs the Queen really quickly, uses his only Disruptor shot, perhaps a bit too over-eagerly there, because that's his only Disruptor shot. And if there are enough Zerg units, then this kind of smaller Protoss force behind it might not be enough. Force fields do go down, but are broken, and that army is doing a decent job against Neeb, but also, meanwhile, the Warp Prism in the main base, warping in quite a few Zealots. Antis, though, at the very least, started to spread his army, realizing that was the tactic, is kind of handling this pretty okay.
I think he's handling it really well, actually, Zombie Grove. I'm thoroughly impressed by Antis. A few Ravagers here getting the worst end against these Zealots, but he will clean up these Zealots, and all things said and done, after clearing up that big army in the middle, that Lurker Den. Actually trying to focus it down is the Zealot, which won't quite get it. And Antis surviving straight up to Lurkers while, being up to 80 drones, that's actually not the worst for him. He's playing really good.
Yeah, aside from having the Ravagers face tank the Zealots, like that was actually a pretty darn good defense. The Lurker Den being this low is also very worrying. The Oracle might have tried to go for it, but there's a Queen now, it transfuses. Transfuse! No, he's not paying attention! Oh, no.
Antis is smiling, though, I think realizing, you cheeky boy, but nice for Neeb to realize that you can get it down, because delaying those upgrades, like Lurker Den takes a long time to build, nearly a full minute, and getting those upgrades going, that changes Lurkers from meh, they're okay, to absolute god tier units.
Yeah, that's still a minute bot there, maybe more of not having to worry about that technology. Absolutely. I mean, for Antis, he's going to be bummed about it. It is a big delay, but I think ultimately he's sitting here thinking I've reached this point. I think I'm secure, and maybe I don't get to go across the map and do a lot of damage or pounce like I could if the upgrade is already done. the game's going to continue on to the late game. Now, is this where Antis is going to feel the most comfortable? I couldn't tell you. I don't know him that well enough, but I do know of the games versus Nina. At least one of them was a pretty good back and forth PvZ, and I think it was on Romana side. And Nina's certainly no slouch in this matchup either. So I am I'm excited to see what Antis can show, because we kind of know what Neeb can show, and he is mostly living up to our expectations.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, not the cleanest Neeb we've ever seen. I do like his structuring of this base, by the way. If he ever quits StarCraft 2, he can become the architect for my house. These roaches obviously just running to their doom over here, but that's because Antis is freeing up a lot of supply for those more valuable units like the Lurkers and what have you.
Yeah, you know, preferable. You want to use the roaches maybe a little bit, you know, a couple probes, something like that. But if they die, they die. It's fine. And so Antis rebuilds with Hydras. He's getting his upgrades. Lurker upgrade finally truly on the way, and he is trying to get into that Spire. The problem, I think, right now for Antis is that he didn't make a whole lot of Lurkers. I realize he's waiting for the upgrade, and that sucked for the delay, but he didn't really make a whole lot more than just the 3 Lurkers we see on the front lines. I guess, to be fair, Neeb hasn't quite determined that. He got 1 revelation that didn't even hit the Lurkers. So he doesn't know if there's 3 behind those 3 or 6 behind those 3. So he's not going to push this particular point.
The upgrades are pretty sick from both players. Like, Antis is almost hitting 3-1 here. Like, and I think that's really cool. Kind of emphasize on upgrades rather than just getting out a lot of Lurkers very quickly. That's a lot of Immortals that you have to be careful about, and Neeb feeling like he can push the issue while getting run-bys going. But Antis, he's actually, yeah, I'm really impressed with how he's playing. He's playing really solid. He's keeping up with Neeb.
He seems like a confident late game Zerg player, at least this type of late game anyways, where you can play Hydra Lurker because you're not facing a dozen carriers already. That was a bit awkward as the Hydras had to funnel through some things to actually retreat away from those storms. Neeb's army continuing to just move on through and capture what looks to be at least this hatchery. Gonna get away pretty much scot-free. Archon does go down, but yeah, Antis not quite prepared to defend that base. Isn't going to cry over it yet anyways. He does get to replacing it very, very quickly and did save his bottom left base.
Yeah, he did, and now he's hit 3-1, but most importantly, I guess, he's hit adaptive talons, meaning these Lurkers, they can get to work very quickly, and that's a high Templar without enough energy to storm, and Neeb is kind of scrambling around a little bit.
Yeah, a little. It's actually kind of awkward. Antis is trying to reinforce with the middle, which didn't really work out because Neeb's army is there. Antis also did finally lose the bottom left base as well. Lurker is still trying to go up the ramp, but against the AoE, they take out the Disruptor, but here comes the rest of the Protoss army. Not much here to protect the Lurkers except other Lurkers, which sometimes is perfect, but in this case, the Immortals take most of them on. Here come the Lings a little bit late to the party, but it might be able to grab a couple more of these Immortals to make it a fairer trade than it was supposed to be.
Yeah, but now the ace up the sleeve of Neeb. Did he even see it? Did Antis? Like, the carriers are out now. They're getting the +2 on the way as well. Maybe Antis got a little bit too carried away there with those attacks, but I'm not surprised that he did, because it did feel it was going okay for a bit of time.
Right.
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
I do think there is some miscontrol going on, absolutely, right? Like, the Lurkers were late to burrow. They were really spread out, and of course they weren't protected, but that was more of the army movement issue. It was just the late burrows, plural now, because he did it again here against this army, then I'm like, oh man, really need to be snappy. You know, it's one of the reasons that the burrow speed is so scary. If you actually use it, it is very scary. And Antis is going to at least hold the line for now. The next big threat is absolutely how does he take on carriers, because he does not have a lot of minerals anymore.
No, he does not. He's still up to 90 drones, but he hasn't been mining off a few of these bases. They've been getting kind of sniped by Neeb. And Neeb, he's just running around the edges of the map with these little hit squads of Zealots, which are actually doing a really good job of just keeping Antis very honest. And that carrier count, that's a lot of storms, still a juicy amount of Immortals as well for that ground support.
Antis did not get the transition like he was, I think, expecting to. He was doing, I think, a fair job pacing-wise, getting to that Spire, hoping to attack with Lurkers, but then the attack didn't go as well or last as long as he was possibly hoping for, so he really didn't get to situate himself either into Corruptor Broodlord or maybe into Lurker Hydra Microbial Shroud, as you see them being used right now. This fight, surprisingly, not too bad. Neeb's the one that dips down in supply first, but Neeb also grabbed the pretty important base because he once again is denied the bottom left.
Yeah, I was looking at that. I was like, how did Antis send that home packing? But then I realized, aha, Neeb's actually producing 3 carriers and like a bunch of high Templars and stuff, and he's back up to max straight away. And the Lurkers, they're doing a good job at dealing with the ground army, but it still feels like there isn't much of a response here to these carriers, or at least he can't really afford to get one out while still dealing with the ground army.
I don't know if he feels forced to do this or if that's a Spire play, just, yeah, it can't be afforded. But it looks like he has chosen to go for the Microbial Shroud response. Now, we usually see a lot more Queens with this, I would say, or maybe I'm just watching too many Dark examples of it. But I also think that it does require you to kind of already have, I don't know, like a foundation already, when it still feels like Antis is really scrambling. He really desperately needs to get these bases back up, now having trouble against DTs. Antis is not in a position to turtle, basically, quite yet. But maybe he can take another okay fight if he's prepared for it.
Yeah, but is he? Like, that's the question here. Like, having the Queen count so low, it just means that your army's so squishy. I know Microbial Shroud is great and stuff, but Storm is super damn good against the Hydras. Although Antis is handling the fights pretty well, and the Lurkers are buying quite a lot of time.
They are. They're getting a lot of pot shots while he kind of dances around here, but there's only so many Microbial Shrouds, and there's only so many Lurkers. I think he realized that as well. Just jumps on top of the army, bulldozes through a Microbial Shroud, not doing a good job of stopping this army at all, and Antis is forced to evacuate again, a very important base. He's got a little bit of a run-by going on, and he's going to get at least a base for a base, but Neeb still very comfortably on 5. Yeah, he's going to take the macro game. GG, Neeb. That is more we expect, but I also think that Antis let him play his game more than the other opponents have.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the fact that he sat back so much and then it wasn't some like timing. He was like, okay, we're going to go late game, which I'm not surprised about. Like on Romanticide, it's a difficult map to attack. There's no possibility of Queen walks and all that stuff, which, you know, Rotterdam lets me know that I messed up with that every time. Yeah, I think seeing those 3 oracles and not necessarily seeing the Stargate early, it can throw you a little bit like, oh, what is he actually doing? This is Neeb I'm up against. He's very good with the depths. He's very good with everything, actually. And yeah, it's nice to see Neeb just come out, play very solid, very standard. And Antis went to the late game. Maybe if all those Lurkers didn't get dealt with like they did, maybe the momentum could have been in his favor. But yeah, overall, it's nice to see that Antis actually put up a really decent fight here for a lot of that game.
There were some really good moments there from Antis. His micro in the early game against the Oracles was pretty on point, and then again, his foundation was set for the first, let's say, 8 minutes. He got to a good drone count, got to hatchery count, got to his technology. That was all fine and dandy, but it did feel like when the game more so got started, when there was actually action to be had, it did feel like he started to, you know, mess up a little bit, like his hotkeys or just his line of thinking. It got a little messed up because the Lurkers were not really inspiring. For someone who dived towards Lurker Hydra, it then felt like, you know, okay, that's the goal. He's going to be like really good with it. He's going to hit some type of timing, delayed, I guess, because of the upgrade cancel, or he's going to just hit when he thinks Neeb is weak. And he kind of did, but then he did mishandle it. So I can't help but be a bit critical of Antis getting to what seemed to be a position he wanted and then not really doing a whole lot with it.
Yeah, it's a tough one. And again, maybe if we asked him like, hey, what was going through your mind here? And maybe he got very thrown off or felt forced into it, given how the early game, even though he handled everything well from memory. Anyhow, spawning over in the top right of Jagannatha as our red Protoss, it is Neeb.
In the bottom left, we have the blue Zerg, Antis.
Jagannatha. This game already, Neeb's going for a slightly different opening. Like, not too much. Wait, what? Okay. For a second there, I was like, Antis? You don't need to, you're not getting blocked here. He was smiling as well. I don't know what's... He seems like a nice dude that's just smiling during these games and stuff. But yeah, Neeb not going for the hatch block this game, just being a little bit more careful. This scout is, or when I say a little more careful, this scout just makes sure that he's not up against anything too crazy here, but not fast enough to block, obviously.
Neeb is, I think, well, it kind of comes and goes, doesn't it? Like how often Protosses in general go for the hatch block, or a player does. Neeb feels like he's been more reserved on the hatch block, but that's super important.
Yeah, some players live and die by it, you know, like every game they're doing it. I do think it's a good idea to kind of switch in and switch out, because sometimes your opponents can do a bit of a weirder build, be it sending out an earlier drone even with like 15 supply and stuff. Maybe I don't see it as much anymore, but yeah, it can always be nice to have different ways of just getting into the game. Always to throw your opponent, or just make your opponent feel like they're not against a robot.
Right. I think that's a good way of putting it, not knowing what to expect. So the last time these guys played last season and Antis got a map, it was on Jagannata that Antis got the map. So I don't know if it was because of a queen walk or just he was feeling a lot more confident after getting warmed up, because that was also the second game. But, I mean, we do know that it's possible for Antis to win a map, even though Neeb has now proven that he is back up to the form we expect, at least in this matchup.
Neeb this game, again with a Stargate, but it's a different map, obviously. Like, you can't get truly behind the third or anything like that. I do assume that Antis will take that forward third base here. Closer to his opponent, can also be a bit more threatening of a queen walk, especially with the speed zones here to help them along. But yeah, so far it's just a very honest game between them.
So I scrolled through the VOD real quick, and apparently Antis just did do a maxed out Roach Ravager push with a Queen Walk on this map. That was,
maxed out? 200 supply?
Yeah, it was, yeah. So like a later one, right? But it still worked nonetheless. Like Neeb, I think, again, really quick skim. It looked like he went for maybe a faster robo follow-up and had, you know, an okay number of immortals, but didn't have a whole lot of extra units, I guess, to work with. So he just kind of got overwhelmed.
You are a multitasker, Zombie Grub. Like, the more I find out about you, the more I'm impressed. Your type racer abilities, just owning us all on land. Neeb here in the main base with a couple of adepts, and there aren't a lot of lings out right now, so already a bit annoying. What? Ooh, just got it.
Just barely. Another one? Adept's gonna have to leave. Oh, body blocking, body blocking. It's gonna get 3 more drones. Not quite.
That was... Yeah, that was a bit scary for a little bit. I think Antis is probably like, damn, that didn't go as well as I wanted it to. Even though it's only 2 drones, normally it can get 3. But I'm looking at that work account and I'm like, that's a lot better for Neeb right now. And it is normally, there's, you know, Protoss getting a little bit more ahead with Chrono Boost and whatever. But yeah, now he knows what he's up against with the Oracle.
And looks like another triple Oracle opening exactly from Neeb. Maybe, I mean, really the only thing I'd say that Neeb could have improved on is controlling the Oracles. I mean, his game wasn't flawless last time, but the Oracles were, I guess, the biggest issue, I guess, for Neeb that he had to deal with. He lost the first one pretty quickly. Second one didn't do a whole lot more to be worth the sacrifice. This time around, judging things accurately, he's going to grab the queen, grab these drones, and Antis is not going to get a very nice start this time, especially because his lings don't do any damage across the map.
No, absolutely. And the amount of scouting information that Neeb gets with this as well. Oh, Antis is doing a really good job focus firing. I'm going to... Oh my goodness, Neeb. He stayed around for so long there. I'd have been out so long ago, but Neeb is happy to take quite a lot of damage on his Oracles, it seems.
I mean, he is really keeping Antis's drone count low and getting that third Oracle in at a perfect time where Antis still had not situated his queens and spores again, so that, you know, this Oracle was healthy, went for a couple extra drones. In total, 9 drones have gone down. It doesn't feel very good for Antis. You know, we had him play a pretty normal, good game for 8-9 minutes last time. Well, now it's not that great. That kind of just throws more doubt into whether or not Antis can actually take a map.
Yeah, and even though those Oracles are low in health, having 3 available for constant revelations and stuff, and the fact that they can always dive in, it's a very different situation, this one. And Antis, he's got his Roach Warren done. Creep spread isn't too crazy. I mean, he did lose a queen earlier and has had a lot of chaos on his side of the map, but look at Neeb. He's not slowing down at all.
He's going to get a couple more drones. Antis just isn't prepared for this. He has a couple of units, yes, but they're not really all together. They're not all out of the way. And the drones have to be pulled at the very last second. At the very least, going to be protected. Oh, the Oracles come back in as well. This might be an over-dedication from Neeb, as the Queens even have some transfuses. And those Oracles are very, very low. One does finally go down. Adept also taken care of. That was not the best from Neeb. He loses a lot, kind of evens up the resources loss.
Yeah, I gotta say though, Antis moving that queen to the high ground there, closer to his other queens to transfuse it, was really cool. And yeah, but maybe the commitment from Neeb there, getting the shade in, got a bit ahead of himself. But a lot of this stuff happening is indirectly causing Antis problems. Like here, 4 overlords at once, he's supply blocked. When we look at that work account, Neeb is just flying ahead when it comes to economy.
Absolutely. I think that is going to be the biggest problem, is that Antis has been messing up just macro-wise, and then it is pushing off. I imagine Antis thinking about the map that he did take last season. It's going to push off any max out timing that he's going to have, having to either replace the drones or just kind of being like, all right, then I guess 53 drones it is, when really he wanted to be at 55 or 60. But he is going to try and go for a big old swell of units and walk across the map with this +1 missile. And Neeb, I think it's been on his mind, but the Oracles aren't going to be able to see the Ravagers move out, and whatever queens, I guess, are coming along with them. No, they are. Going to go right over it this time, inadvertently, but they are scouting it.
A nice scout by Neeb, and now he knows, like, oh, I can't take that 4th base, can I? Which was going to be the very forward location. This is kind of funny, right? Like, he's got these shield batteries out in front, but I like it. I think it's really good against this kind of stuff.
I don't think Anthony should do this. Like, Neeb seems really well prepared, and probably because of the way that the last time they met went. Even this first disruptor shot catching the tail end of the Roaches does a ton of damage because, Roach speed isn't done. He doesn't have much to work with here. Just hoping that he caught Neeb by surprise with too many units, but this game has not gone well for him. Certainly not perfectly. Definitely not. And this attack also is not going to go well for him.
No, I mean, like, the Protoss is ahead in supply while having a better army, which that spells doom. And look at what he's fighting into here, Zombie. I mean, that disruptor hit as well just marches in. I feel that's it. And GG Neeb with the 2